Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Let's get it started. Let's get it started in here. Yeah.
The views expressed by J. Michael McCoy are the views of the hosts and guests of Max World Live, and not necessarily the views of Webcast One Live, its staff, its management, the cleaning crew, Dave the electric guy, the guy who cleans the skywalk, the woman who brought in the cookies, the management staff of Hubble Real Estate, the parking lot attendant at Keck Parking, the wait staff over at Miss Kitty's, the coffee crew at Frederick's, the man in the street corner willing to work for food, Rob Spearman, Max Crab, or anyone else of sound mind. Should you be offended, provoked, intimidated, shocked, confused, or just made to think independently, log on to maxworldlive.com right now. It's your voice we want to hear in Max World. And now, live from the palatial studios of Webcast One Live, your host, J. Michael McCoy.
All right, good afternoon. 4 minutes after the hour on the 13th day of January in the Lord's year 2015. I'm J. Michael McCoy, and it's the Tuesday edition of Max World. Tom Coates not here today, attending a funeral in his hometown of Corydon, Iowa. And so I thought, well, who's somebody that could fill in? Somebody that maybe could add a dimension or an opinion to this show that wouldn't already be there, because Tom and I agree most of the time. Who in heaven's name could I barely put up with for at least 1 hour and entertain you, the audience? You're right. I found him. It's Bradshaw. Back from a extended vacation of, what would you call yourself now? A high-end computer guru?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Well,
no, you kidding me?
But that's what you do, right?
Yeah.
You help people with their computers.
Yep.
Over the phone.
Just reset the PRAM, reset your SMC, you're fine. Turn it off, turn it on again.
And you do that from your house.
Yeah.
So you never have to get out of your PJs.
Exactly.
It really is the perfect job for you, isn't it?
It's working for a living.
All right, well, I called Bradshaw and I wanted him in because the last, I don't know what it's been. I suppose it's been the last, since the 14 elections. You know, the midterm elections. I said, I wish Bradshaw and I were on because I want to talk about that. I want to see what he thinks about that. And last week,
I think we got beat pretty bad. I think that's what happened. Actually, we mostly beat ourselves, but that's a whole other topic for another time.
Well, and we can talk about that. But I told you, and the audience knows my wife's mother is not doing well, and so we've been carting back and forth from Sioux Falls, not daily, but every other day, every third day. And she has satellite radio in her car, which I've never had before. And so on the way up to get her on Sunday, I listened to CNN and Fox News back and forth, and they're covering this thing in France. How cool was that? Did you get to see any of it? I obviously didn't have a visual. I only had the auditory. And I've seen the pictures on the news. But
yeah.
They had full-length, unedited, uncut video of Muslims, Jews, people of all religions and places in the world, all joining hands. They said up to 1 million people ended up getting into this march to support free speech and support, I guess it would be freedom of religion.
Yeah, it's a great turnout. It's what, well, go back a few years, the same thing we should have done.
Yeah.
Rather than shrink from, out of fear and anger.
Well, yeah, the Bush administration chose to go to war. And
a couple of them.
And
they're batting 500, which in the major leagues is great.
Yeah, that's good. But and I thought what was interesting was the theme of this march was I am blank. So it's I am Charlie, which is the name of the newspaper. I am Jewish, and this would be a Muslim woman carrying this. And then there would be a Jewish rabbi, and he would say, I am Muslim, and Imams. And it's the first time, and I got goosebumps listening to it, it's the first time when the Islamic community, the Muslim community, stood up and said, they don't speak for me.
I don't think it's the first. How's your blood pressure these days?
It's great. Thank you. Go
Just
ahead.
want to make sure.
I'm fine. My tone's good, too.
I don't think... You remember tone? Nice.
Yes, I do. I remember tone.
No, I don't think
just
it's
so the audience knows what that is.
inside jokes.
When Bradshaw was my partner on the air, he'd hold up a sign or he'd do something because my tone would become very angry on the radio. Now, that's before Jesus mugged me, and I'm a different fellow, thank God, today. But, yeah, my blood pressure's fine. I don't think you could say anything that would...
No, I
Don't
think,
test me, though.
I think that belief that this is the first time it stood up is one of those, if it doesn't happen on Fox News, it doesn't exist.
Okay? But I heard that on CNN. I have to admit to
See, you turn away from Fox News and you get some education.
Well, I'm actually telling you that they had better coverage on CNN, auditory coverage, than they did on Fox, because Fox kept doing their Sunday morning shows, and CNN canceled them and had Jake Trapper, him, and the real good woman reporter that's got a funny name,
Kathy Griffin.
No.
Oh, wait, no, that's just the New Year's show. Sorry, I don't know what that whole thing with Anderson Cooper is. I don't really want to know. That's their thing.
Who's
Christiane Amanpour?
Yes, her and Jake Tapper were in the crowd, and it was fascinating. It was some of the best radio I've ever heard. And here's what's funny: it wasn't radio.
Yeah, it was TV.
TV,
but, yeah, carrying that live audio feed. No, I do think you see the denouncement. I think there is definitely a sense of, these people do not represent me, do not speak for me. We condemn this. This is not what we're about. And while, the attacks here or, in Holland garner most of the attention when when you really look at, the number of terror attacks, even if you just boil it down to just the EU. I believe the stat was about 2%.
Yeah, not very much.
Most of it is going to be nationalist, separatist.
But we don't want to get used
groups.
to this. We don't want it to be a non-issue, a non-headline when something's attacked. That means we're getting used to it. When I see a bombing in Israel, well, happens every day, right? They get used to it. Bombing in Syria, that's their life, not mine.
But, these things do happen all over the world on a disturbingly regular basis. And it's not everyone wants to blame the media, but it's our fault. We don't tune in if something happens in Jakarta. We don't tune in when something happens in Kazakhstan unless Borat's involved. No one's going to pick up the newspaper. Very nice. To read that. So we don't pay attention to it. And for years, even before MSNBC became, kind of the liberal line, somehow hosted by Joe Scarborough, but that's another topic again for another time. Cable news is universally awful in this country. There is not, there is enough news, for a 24-hour nonstop news cycle. But it's not anything the average American is interested in. If you listen to the BBC World Service, if you watch, BBC, again, don't start, throwing things at me, but watch, Al Jazeera. I'm not a huge fan of the Al Jazeera America. I liked the old, worldwide.
I wish we had
Al
that
Jazeera feed
with English subtitles or English translation.
Well, there was an English.
What happened to it? Al Gore
Al
bought
Jazeera.
it?
No, they replaced it with the Al Jazeera America, and they don't get me wrong, they do good work, but I preferred the old version. But it's more of a world view. It's not microscopically focused
on Israel,
the 48 states and sometimes Alaska and Hawaii.
Is Bradshaw's my guest today, and we're discussing world events, and eventually we're going to get to Obama and this thing in France and some other things. But don't you think it would be helpful if we could turn on and see what our enemy is watching so we could get an idea of their mindset? If we could watch Israel's 6 o'clock news or Jordan's 6 o'clock news or Palestinian. I'd like to see some of that propaganda. And I know it's propaganda, but I'd like to see what my enemy's being fed.
It's all online.
I suppose
all,
it is.
These days, it's all on YouTube. You can see,
everything
anything
they're seeing.
And if it's not there, it's going to be on Live Leak, Daily Motion. This stuff makes it out there. It makes it onto Facebook and Twitter. One of the things that and we'll get to this later when we talk about, Obama, was it yesterday, day before, in one of those, kind of State of the Union sneak peeks. We're going to start taking a look at cybersecurity. We're going to take a serious look. Stop, only focusing on, the defense of the 20th century. How many guns, bombs, missiles we have. And let's start looking online.
Well, did
no one really cares that if a really horrible Seth Rogen movie, is attacked by dear leader.
By the way,
but what happens?
I'm writing that down because I want to ask you about that later, but I don't want to rabbit trail into that now.
But anyway, focus more on that because it is moving online. The dissemination of information.
But see, I don't trust anything online anymore. It's too easy for me to go out there and find a poll that says...
Well, internet polls are useless.
Yeah.
They're all useless. Every single last one of them.
A poll or an article or whatever I want to find that says what I want to be said. And then I put it out there and I'm the authority. And half the time, well, now all the time, I check it out on Snopes. Is it Snoop or Snopes?
Snopes.com.
I used to do it half the time, and then I got caught. I'd put something out there, and it wasn't real. It was fake.
Yeah, I lived that for a while. I'm aware. Someone forwarded me this email with these most amazing stats. Can you believe it? No, you can't, and here's why. But I would get people that were so mad because they thought that they had the ironclad, I have the, Excalibur that will defeat your evil liberalism. And it's just, you go, yeah, I saw that in Snopes. Turns out it's made up. I can send you the link if they want. And they just sputter with impotent rage, and it was fun.
It's interesting that you and I should be talking about this because I remember when the Westboro Baptist Church came to town, and we had the daughter on the radio.
She called me sugar.
And I kept telling you that those people don't speak for me. Those people don't speak for me. And when I heard that Muslim woman in that broken English that was really good, for what she was trying to do, say they don't speak for me, my mind immediately went to you and I on the radio thinking, I know how she feels. Because most people who are what I call low information voters would say, oh, Westboro Baptist, that you guys are the same thing, right? You hate fags, you da-da-da-da-da, you da-da-da-da-da. And they didn't speak for me at all.
No, a lot of people, though, have that same message, just they clean it up with nicer language.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Yeah.
So, I mean, the sentiment may remain the same. If you have the same message and just, you're a little more eloquent.
But we as good American people have got to stop lumping people together. It's not fair. I remember posting something a couple of years ago. Well, it wasn't a couple of years ago. It was probably a year ago when the first beheading, was it Daniel Pearl?
Daniel Berg.
Well, who's Pearl? There was a journalist named Pearl.
Yeah.
That they beheaded like 2 years ago.
That was that was longer than that.
And I put something online that we ought to ban the Muslim religion right now in America. And I got back this, even from my own brothers in Christ, I got, hey, back off, This is a small percentage of a very peaceful nation. And, of course, I don't want to say that Islam is peaceful. But the fact of it is, And there's a couple people out there, what'd you say, 2%? That are screwing it up for everybody.
And this is if you're looking at, again, terror attacks in Europe. Yeah, 2%.
Yeah.
The vast majority are, absolutely something else. And again, it's you could do a month's worth of shows on, the causes of extremism.
Every kind of extremism.
Yeah. And it's usually going to be, the down and out. And that the thing that I always go back to, and I don't remember when I saw it, this was like an 80s HBO special or something, talking about gangs.
Yeah.
Because, gangs, those scary people in big cities, black. And they say, why do you care so much about, this street? Why do you care so much about this block? Why are you willing to kill for it? And they're like, it's all I got.
Bradshaw's my guest today. When we come back, we'll talk about that movie on North Korea and also Obama not going to France. It's coming up next on The Truth. Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Yeah. All right, 21 minutes after the hour, 13th day of January in the Lord's year 2015. I'm J. Michael McCoy. Coming up tomorrow, Mike Wagner from White Rabbit will be in, and we're going to discuss the book of Mark. But before we start to study the gospel, we're going to talk about who was Mark. Who was this man? Where did he come from? What was his experience with Jesus? And why is his one of the 4 gospels that have spread this worldwide for 2,000 years telling us about the life of Christ? Mike Wagner's a great guy. We've had him on before, but it'll be a good show on the book of Mark. And then on Thursday, Michael Damascus will be here, the pastor from Fort Des Moines Christian Church, and we'll be talking about real men. What do real men do? What kind of husbands are real men? What kind of fathers are real men? I've been learning the last couple of weeks with the illness of my mother and my wife's mother at the same time. What type of son am I? Am I a godly son, or am I still involved in my flesh and I'm jealous and I'm envious and I'm all about me, and my little boy screams out, "No, no, no, attention, I want attention." We'll talk about that on Thursday with Michael Damascus. Bradshaw is my guest today. Tom Coates away, so I asked Bradshaw to come in and talk a little bit about the politics that are going on.
I want to try to sue me again.
Who? Tom?
Tom, yeah.
No, I don't think he'll do that.
Okay.
I don't think he'll do that. You deserve
First one was fun.
Seth Rogen's movie. What was it called? The Interview.
The Interview.
Okay. Have you seen it?
No.
Seriously?
No, I have absolutely no desire.
I figured you'd be a big Seth Rogen kind of humor.
A bad movie.
Okay.
By all accounts. But if Dear Leader hates it, or so is it Supreme Leader now? I have a hard time keeping the honorifics apart.
Who? All right, let me ask you a question, because you're as far from a tinfoil wearing person that I know. Any chance that was all made up by Sony?
I would say coin flip. I haven't spent a ton of time studying it. While North Korea, their little hermit kingdom, is always looking for ways to basically maintain the Kim regime. And now there's some even talk that might not even be going on. That Kim Jong-un may just be a figurehead. I could certainly see them. It would not be outside, their comfort zone to do something like this. But on the flip side, it could very easily have been a disgruntled Sony employee.
I mean, you have to admit the publicity for that film. What matched it?
I don't think it was intentional, because remember, everyone talks about the interview, but what was the Brad Pitt tank movie?
I don't know.
And the new Annie, both were leaked online month and a half, 2 months. You want a copy? Before they were out in theaters. Yeah, so it wasn't just the interview.
But you're a movie guy. I'm surprised you didn't watch the interview just for the political information.
No, I did. What's the name of the audiobook? A much better use of your time would be Dear Leader, Poet, Spy, Escapee, by a North Korean defector who was in the inner circle and, was one of Kim Jong-il's, protected, which is the only reason he survived long enough to escape over a lost book. A lost book was going to end this man's life, and he had to flee.
Wow. But did he wrote the book?
No, it was a South Korean book.
Oh, okay.
He was part of the Ministry of Propaganda.
Okay.
He portrayed a South Korean poet idolizing Dear Leader. So that's a much better use of your time than watching the interview.
Well, I have to admit, I'm going to watch it at some point. I'm not going to pay for it. That's not a political statement. That's just I'm frugal.
I can find you a copy.
But I'd like to just see it, and I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand when Muslims get so upset when we make fun of Muhammad. I mean, I think jokes about my faith are funny. I mean, I don't.
That's a new trait.
Yeah, it probably is. Probably is. I just don't get offended by that stuff.
But I think again, it's a case of it's all we got. I mean, there's no shortage of people in this world that are looking for new and inventive reasons to be outraged.
So, what do you think the front of Charlie will be tomorrow? They've upped it to 3 million copies.
I can show you.
Is it out?
Yeah, it's out there. Hold on a second.
Can you get that up on the screen? So for those folks that are watching on the
Spanish
webcast,
at Valley, not French, but it is. It's basically it's an image of Muhammad.
Okay.
I'm trying to find it.
Well, I heard something about the headline was "You're forgiven," or "We forgive," or something like that. I don't know. We'll look at it and see if we can find it.
It's a please excuse me, and he's holding up the Je suis Charlie.
Oh, he says, "I am Charlie."
Here it is.
Yeah, it is a picture of Muhammad, and it says, "I am Charlie," and the headline is "Tautist Pardone." So that's got to be something in "Pardon me."
Yeah, I'm not a conehead. I'm not from France.
Yeah, something like that. I heard that the translation was closer to "We forgive you" or something like that. So,
please forgive me, or something along those lines. Any French speakers, feel free to chime in.
So let's talk a minute politics on why we didn't have the level of visual presence in France as the other countries did. They all had their presidents. They had their vice presidents. Nobody sent an ambassador. Nobody sent the top lawyer. We have an ambassador and the top lawyer, and they don't even march.
Well, that shot of the leaders from the protest, the wide-angle copy of that photo, I don't know if it was last night, made it out online. They weren't part of the march. They were in their own separate, secretly cordoned off area.
The people that were in the picture.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they weren't, leading this million-person demonstration. And while I understand the optics of it, but come on, it's America. It's 2014. The same people today who are saying, why didn't Obama go, would be the exact same ones saying, how many millions of dollars did Obama spend for a fake photo op to go to France because it was all about himself if he had gone? Because remember, whatever Obama does is bad in that worldview.
I understand that. And I learned that from you on the radio because everything that Bush did was bad.
Not everything.
Well, for the most part, you and your low information voters, everything was Bush's fault and everything that Bush did was bad. And so I give some of my conservative political friends a little heck from time to time because
there can be no quarter given.
Right.
Not in today's GOP.
I agree. I'm agreeing with you.
Ted Kennedy could stand up on stage with George Bush and sign No Child Left Behind. Any, Republican who would dare appear on stage with President Obama has no further political ambitions.
But that's not right. You agree with that.
I absolutely agree it's not right.
Yeah, I mean, that's messing up everything. But why couldn't our president, forget about the politics of it. I mean, not the politics, the media of it. Mm-hmm. Why wasn't he there? Why wasn't Biden there?
I don't think either of them need to be there for that. I would have sent John Kerry myself.
Well, John Kerry gave a 7-minute speech all in French.
I was going to say, yeah, as someone who lived through the Kerry campaign in 2004, again, I find it hilarious to see our conservative friends bemoaning the lack of French support for an American president. And again, maybe that's just the freedom fry lover in me. Or freedom toast. But again, to see the turn of face, it could not be less sincere.
So you don't care if the president was there?
No.
So
in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't change the message.
All right.
If anything, again, if he goes there, it's going to be about his narcissism, his photo opportunity, how Obama's security disrupted this wonderful protest. Because we've heard all of those complaints before. Literally, the Obamas cannot go on vacation without hearing, attacks, complaints.
But they do it wrong. You have to admit they do it wrong. They're arrogant. They're narcissistic. This thing with the golf. He comes in off the golf course to do a press conference about somebody who's died, and then goes out and finishes the 18 rounds.
Yeah, he's a human being.
Well, come on, that you wouldn't accept that from somebody on the conservative side.
No, I don't think the optics are very good, but in the grand scheme of things, does it matter? No.
Well, all right. What does matter? What does matter? Is he responsible for $2 gas?
No.
Okay. How about Obamacare? Do we want to open that a jar of pickles?
I would love to. Yeah, let's bring back the public option. Let's get universal single payer as a discussion. Maybe we can get it up and going in a couple of states. Because Obamacare's great. Because up until about 12 days ago, I had it and loved it.
Why don't you have it now?
Because I have it through my employer.
Oh. When you and I were on the air years ago, we talked about death panels. We're seeing that now.
Death panels didn't exist. I don't know what you're talking about. And again, this is one of those, if Obama does it, it's bad. Advanced directives. Because our very own, favorite son here in Iowa, Newt Gingrich, who was doing his, run for the money, i.e., I'm going to run for president to sell books and products. Same thing Huckabee's doing this year.
Huckabee is...
Even Chuck Grassley.
Don't write out Huckabee. Don't write out Huckabee.
No,
I'm
just not going to write him out any checks.
You talk about the guy on the white horse at the end when the Jeb Bush.
He's making a run for the money.
And the Mitt Romney thing all clear away. It's going to be Huckabee that stands as our candidate.
I hope so. I would love that. But anyway, to get back to the advance directives is where the whole death panel lie came from, which was, you are going to have to, be forced to go in front of these doctors and defend, whether you can get care or not because you're old and infirmed and sick and you're not worth the investment. That was the story.
Well, but
what death panels actually came from were what's called advance directives. And that is, as part of the Affordable Care Act, Medicare will cover, and I forget the time frame, it's every 5 years, every 2 years. You will sit down with your doctor and dictate what kind of end-of-life care you want. Because when you talk to doctors and nurses, what typically happens is unless you specifically say, do not, and it's in writing, stamped on your forehead, you name it.
Right.
What typically happens is the family comes in. And regardless of your wishes, do everything. Put them on every pump and hose that you can find. Throw in a couple extras in case those go wrong.
Yep.
How much morphine you got? Let's pump it all full up there. And again, 10 years ago, guys like Newt Gingrich and Chuck Grassley were promoting these because look how much money they save. Because you're not getting care that you don't want.
Well,
at the end. And then Obama does it, and it becomes bad.
Well, but I have to tell you, and I'll have to tell you in the next break, and I don't say this with any glee in my voice, we're witnessing this with my mother-in-law up in Sioux Falls at age 91. And I witnessed it. I'm standing there and listening to these doctors and nurses. And then I took a doctor aside, and this guy was a nice guy. And we had something in common which kind of bonded us immediately, and he shared with me. And I'll share that a little bit with you because we're witnessing it firsthand in our family right now. Bradshaw's my guest. We're talking politics, and we're doing it here on 99.3 The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Hobbs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fix them problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed rate or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
All right, we're back. 22 minutes before the top of the hour. Salem Radio Network News will update us at the top, and then Pastor Michael Mudloff with True Blue from Westkirk Presbyterian Church from 4 to 4:30, and then Hank, the the Bible Answer Man, will be on from 4:30 to 5. I think that's right. Bradshaw's my guest today, and we're talking about some politics. And I don't want to share too much personal information over the radio because my wife wouldn't appreciate that. But it was very, very obvious to us. And by the way, don't think that because it's Sioux Falls, the medical community is less sophisticated than Des Moines. I called a very good friend of mine who's high up in Unity Point, and I said, "Tell me about this hospital." And he says, "It's good as ours, good as ours, good as Des Moines. So you're fine there." It was obvious from day one, literally from night one. Well, let's just make her comfortable. She's 91. She's had a good life. Let's just make her comfortable. And the sisters were not willing to do anything to let their mother go. And that's all the information I want to give right now because it's a tough situation.
Again, that's not an uncommon story because again, it's usually the family. Even that estranged son that hasn't seen in decades will rush in and do everything. And this is where those advanced directives.
But in the middle of the night, literally, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and the hospital's just barely moving, and everybody's sleeping, and grandma's resting gently. And I went out and talked to this guy, and this doctor and I had a common bond, so we automatically, kind of had a good relationship. He's a believer like I am, and he feels very much the same way about his relationship with Christ. And I asked him, and I'll never say his name, but I asked him, I said, "Have things changed since Obamacare?" He said, "Oh my gosh." He said, "We have such a shortened window to determine what's wrong with somebody, and then we have to take that prognosis and act upon it. And if it doesn't work, we're not encouraged to look for a second prognosis or a third prognosis." You think about a good doctor, they just look until finally they go, there it is. It's a twisted bowel. It's a blank, blank, blank. It's a blank, blank, blank. If the initial prognosis, which in this case was determined by a helicopter nurse of what was wrong with my mother-in-law, as soon as they got done with that and figured out that wasn't it, he said, we're encouraged then to just keep them comfortable. And I said, and this guy was like 60. Is that different than it was? Oh, he said, when I first got out of medical school and I was doing my internship, you never gave up on somebody, no matter what their age was. In fact, if they were older in age, you were even encouraged more to save that life.
Yeah.
Now, this is coming from a doctor. And maybe he's a quack behind the scenes. I don't know. From the 17, 18 days that I got to know him, every single day that we were there, he's a hero in my book.
The flip side to that is, as health has become more and more, not just a profit-driven entity, but a growth. Even in bad economic times, it's a blue chipper. It's always growing. You saw a lot of incentive. Run the tests.
Yep.
Run as many tests as possible.
Yep.
Hangnail, let's run some tests. Indigestion, let's run some tests. Why? So we can bill for those tests. And part of what Obamacare does, and something that is needed, is a constraint on running up the bill. If I can charge you, $50 for 2 Tylenol, I have every incentive to load you down with as many Tylenol as possible. Let's run MRIs for stubbed toes. Why not? And that's what you saw. And you saw a lot of Medicare providers, by the way, going to jail for just that. and being charged with running up bills and taking advantage of the system.
I don't disagree with that. Let's go to our phones where Tim is standing by. Tim, you're live in Max World with Bradshaw. How you doing today?
I am doing well. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for calling in. So what's your question?
Not a question so much as just an observation. You're talking about, keep her comfortable and those type of things. And with some of the stories that have been out as of late, I see a direct correlation to, another issue, and that's the beginning of life. And we've told 2 generations plus now that if somebody's going to suffer, quote unquote, whatever that means, that's really an elastic term, or if somebody's inconvenient, then, we just do away with that life. And we've been saying that for 40 years, 42 years now, coming up next week. What do you expect people? I mean, it's the same arguments, or a lot of the same scary terminology, is being used at the end of life as we've seen at the beginning of life. And, I find it offensive, and I know this isn't where you guys were at necessarily, but we lost my dad to cancer here a couple of years ago, and, he fought for 4 years and ultimately lost that battle. But, the people, the Brittany Maynards of the world are supposedly the heroes and the ones with courage. And I, that's just an aside that offends me a bit, but, and that's tough to do, frankly. So anyway,
and just so our listeners know, Tim, and we didn't set this up, but as long as you're here, I'm going to tell you're coming in on Friday to join us in the show to talk about abortion and the right to life and some things like that, because I know you're passionate about that.
Yep, a fair amount. Yep.
Well, let me. Because Tim, I don't know you, or do I? I don't.
I think we've met once.
Have we? Okay. Do you believe that at some point, if there's nothing left but suffering, a person should be able to say, I've run the race and this is as far as I want to go?
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with at that point. That would be let's keep them comfortable. We don't.
Well, no, I mean, let's say comfort's not an option, and that it isn't for some people.
Well, but
my grandfather,
they couldn't give him enough morphine.
They could turn him into a vegetable,
right,
and they could just knock him out. But it was just, it's going to happen, and it's going to happen now. It's going to happen a month from now. It's going to happen from 2 months from now. It's not getting any better, and there's no coming back from this.
Well, Bradshaw, there was a story of it's kind of making the rounds on social media right now. There was a kid that was a vegetable for 12 years. Who?
Oh yeah.
No, I'm not talking like brain dead vegetable. Like we can knock him out completely.
Tim's got a good point.
But there's nothing but pain coming.
But Tim's got a good point in the fact that, and I know you're not going to agree with this, and so I don't want you to disagree with it. I know where you stand. But you got to give God room to move. At some point, you've got to turn that person over to the will of God and either heal him in this life or heal him in the next. And this guy that Tim's talking about is a kid that was a vegetable. They had no hope for him. His mother, you know the story I'm talking about?
Yeah.
His mother even said to him one time, I just wish you'd die. I just wish you'd die. He was just such
he heard her.
a burden.
He heard her say it.
Yeah. When he came awake, he said that he was aware of everything going on around him and being said. He was just trapped in this body. Now, that is not a person who anybody should have the right to commit what's it called?
Assisted suicide. Pulling the plug in that case.
Well, we talk
euthanasia.
About pulling the plug. It's like we're talking about a toaster, and we try to sanitize these words, but we've talked about Casey Kasem recently, and Brittany Maynard. Brittany Maynard's a little different. She took the pills supposedly, but there are people where we unplug them, and people don't realize that's not just. In most cases, they just let people starve and dehydrate. I mean, there's no death with dignity.
There's no
care. And that's where again a compassionate doctor will just provide enough so that breathing stops and death takes its course, and that is what happened.
Remember
with my grandfather.
Remember, we did a show on hospice. Remember, and I said that and Tim, thanks for calling. I look forward to seeing you on Friday.
Yeah, thanks.
And we're running out of time here, but we did a show on hospice, and I basically said hospice was legalized murder. And we had all these hospice nurses come back, and I even visited one, and they changed my mind.
Oh, yeah. They have, you want to talk about people with guts to be a hospice nurse. But, yeah, I don't want to relitigate like the Terry Schiavo affair, but we get a little crazy when these issues come up.
Your buddy Frank's on the phone. He wants to talk to you next. We'll do that when we come back on The Truth, 99.3.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can give these grandkids back, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We can help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hey, psst. Let me let you in on a little secret. You ready? Always try to do business with people, not places. Especially if you seek honest Christian business people. And when it comes to my car, I really need to trust who's working on it. Now, my family is so blessed. A few years ago, we found a family-owned automobile repair shop that operates as a Christian business also. Open, honest, reliable, trustworthy. It's AMCO on Hickman Road in front of Kmart. And it's a family-owned Christian operating business. This family treats your car as if it was their car. Everything from oil changes to transmission repair and everything in between. So the next time you feel the need to be at peace with your choice of who you can trust with your car, give AMCO on Hickman a chance to serve you. And tell them Max sent you. All right, 10 minutes before the top of the hour here on 99.3 The Truth. Tomorrow, Mike Wagner, Pastor Mike Wagner will be in, and we'll be talking about starting churches, planning churches. We'll be talking about the book of Mark, and who was Mark, and who was this guy, and how did he know Jesus, and why is his gospel 25% of the Gospels? How important was he? We'll talk about him.
I'm more of a Thomas man, but I doubt you want to hear about that.
Nice pun. Good job.
Thanks. See?
And then on...
Got to work the room. You got to know your crowd.
And then on Thursday, Michael Damascus from Fort Des Moines Christian Church will come in and talk about men, real men. What's a real God-based, Christ-centered man like? What kind of father is he? What kind of husband is he? What kind of son is he? This has been something on my mind a lot the last couple of weeks because, as I said earlier, both my mother-in-law and my mother had surgery within 48 hours apart, 1,500 miles apart for the very same thing. Blew us away. Couldn't help but see God in the middle of that. And, you know, should I jump on a plane and go to San Diego and be with my mother, or should I stay in Sioux Falls and be with my wife? I'm lucky I have a wonderful mother who said, you stay there. I'm fine here. I've got your sister here. I've got your father here. You're fine. And I was able to be with my wife for the last 18 days during this terrible situation. And when it's all over, we'll talk about it, as I like to say. All right, let's go to the phones. Your personal, close, good friend, Frank, would like to talk to you. Frank, you're live on the radio.
Well, he was probably taking bets whether I'd call or not, most likely. But this utopian single-payer system that Bradshaw is lauding...
I mean, like the rest of the world uses.
Take a good look at your VA. You know, that's how it's going to run. And it was proven with that beyond a shadow of a doubt that the VA has death panels and waiting lists. And the defenders of Obama during that time said government is so large that we can't expect one man to oversee everything. But now you want to put the whole entire healthcare system in a single-payer system and have Obama run it, along with that.
Well, no, Obama wouldn't be running it. Frank, come on, that's stupid.
And along with your tax records. Now, do you want the government And precisely, do you want a Republican president to have that much power over your life? Not only your health care, but your tax records to boot.
No, I would love universal single payer. I think it would make people much more involved in choosing their governments. And you can just look to, over to our friends across the pond. In Britain, even their conservative parties run on, this is how we will improve the NHS.
How's it going to run any better than the VA?
Well, fund it better.
Fund it better?
Yeah.
But that's always your answer. Just throw more money at it.
More money.
Yeah.
Where does all the money come from?
Well, I don't know. There's a couple wars we could stop fighting that might save a few bucks. A couple tax cuts that maybe go away. Or how about just very simply, I don't know, you pay payroll taxes on every last dollar of income like you and I do.
How about Ronald Reagan say we don't tax too little, we spend too much? How about we fund this out of what we're already generating in the government and decide what's important?
No, and that is basically what we're doing. We're kind of missing some of those lessons we learned from the Great Depression, because you guys, again, it's one of those, if it doesn't happen on Fox, or then I didn't hear about it. But the deficit is shrinking. It's getting smaller. You know that, right?
You got to be kidding me.
No, serious. You can look it up.
The deficit grows every minute of every day.
No, the budget deficit is shrinking. The debt is getting larger.
Well, what does it matter if the deficit is getting smaller if the debt's getting bigger? That's like saying I keep selling more, my sales are more and more, but my cash flow's less. Cash flow's king.
Exactly. We need more cash flow. The deficit's shrinking under Obama. That's not something any of your guys can say.
Well, I think that's fuzzy math.
No, that's fact. That's numbers. Those are black and white facts.
All right,
but
one more
deficit's
thing.
Getting smaller, and I wish we were spending more.
One more thing real quick, because I think we're going to agree on this, but I think we'd apply it differently. Obama came out the other day and talked about this 2-year community college being paid.
Great investment in people.
I agree. But why can't we make that a student graduates from high school at 16, which is basically their sophomore year, and then their junior and senior year is more focused on college courses and training for preparing them for individual trades, jobs, markets, things like that? Why do we have to add 2 more years to the public debt for education?
I'm okay with, again, if you want to add 15 more years, we don't exactly suffer from an overabundance of education.
Compared to other countries, we do, though. There's no other country on this planet where anybody can go to college. And they can go to college for free.
No, there's many countries that actually run all of their state universities free. All tuition is paid for 4-year plans. We're talking about 2 years of community college with some caveats. Again, these have to be credits that can transfer to a 4-year institution. You got to keep your grade point average up, and it's a great investment.
But
no one in this country should, in the greatest country in the history of the world, Augustus, should ever not be able to go to college because they can't afford it.
But why do we have to add 2 more years to the debt? Most seniors in high school
are pretty stupid, just in general. Well, I don't think you're ready now to go about your life's business. Well, starting at
16 years old, we give them a 2-ton vehicle and the keys, and we let them
with some restrictions.
Yeah, but who follows those restrictions?
I didn't.
Seriously,
and I had the insurance rates to prove it.
Yeah, I didn't either. I got I was 14 because I lived on a farm. So I was hightailing my 68 Mustang all around southeast Nebraska at age 14, and I made some very stupid decisions. But it was those stupid decisions that wised me up. Yeah, made me smarter.
Again, I think 18 is fine for leaving the school, and then the secondary education, the higher education, the community college, great. And I laugh at all. I think it was Rick Santorum who called it like a snobby move, because Lord knows if there's one group of elitists out there, it's community college students.
Well, I hope that this program continues, much like I hope a reform in health care continues, but it's got to be changed from what Obama wanted it. I hope that maybe we make community college classes available to juniors and seniors in high school.
Well, and that's
I
where
think
the
it is
AP
now.
program comes in. And there are some programs to get some of those kids the college credit during high school. But again, AP classes aren't for everyone, even at Valley, the nation's finest high school.
All right, Bradshaw, thanks for coming in today. I hope you come back soon. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, I love this job. I couldn't do it without you. I told you that tomorrow Mike Wagner will be in here. We'll be talking about the book of Mark and who was Mark and why did he get 25% of the time in the Gospels? And how was his relationship with Jesus impact us today, 2,100 years later? Then on Thursday, it's Mike Damascus, and on Friday, we're talking pro-life, which for me is pro-choice, because you have the choice to have sex unprotected and before you're ready to have a baby. So we'll talk about that with Tim Overland, Judah Myers, and more. Until then, find somebody that you just don't like anymore, somebody that you have a resentment with, and tonight, give that to God. Ask for forgiveness and forgive them. It's the best gift you'll ever give. See you tomorrow.